slurping away on beer.
Perfect. Trip 35. We're doing it. Is this in the right spot? Should I trip it up a little?
I can't see. No, you should not.
Oh, okay.
Am I in there? It's bad luck. I can't open it.
Cheers. I'll type it cheers. It's technically the first in-person one ever.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to get closer. But reason behind doing this was I was trying to schedule all of these people to get on the podcast, and it was becoming an absolute friggin' nightmare to try and get them on. And I was so sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
So I'm your easy way out.
no.
So we live together.
No. Maybe.
I can't escape it.
Cheap way out. Yeah, and I was like, well, maybe Alexa would want to do it. And I asked you about it, and you were like, nope. And I asked you about it again, you were like, nope. And then finally you were like, so when are we going to do a podcast?
Kind of. Yeah.
So here we are.
Mm-hmm.
So we had talked about, I think what I had kind of seen this being in between potentially having other people on, or maybe even this, depending on how this goes, is like maybe this just becomes what it is. But I haven't really tried to force what the podcast is too much. It's just like kind of whatever it ends up being. Mm-hmm. But it has kind of been like a mix of business and art and travel and all this other stuff combined. And so it was cool because it was kind of intermingling with all the stuff that we had going on with Grandeur and now with the opposition with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool to just kind of give people more of our perspective, because I think there's times where we go on rants with each other that I'm like, man, that'd be cool if someone else could hear that, because I don't think anyone talks about it in the same way that we do.
And they last a long time.
And then we go down rabbit holes, and then I'm like, how did we even end up here? We got to backtrack to figure out where the conversation went.
I would like for that to happen.
But you're hyper aware of the camera.
To get lost in it, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
You just got to keep trying.
I'm trying. I have beer.
So yeah, the thing that we had talked about using as like a transition to get into it was more of our story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're Mr. Announcer Man. You want to start with the story?
No, I kind of want you to tell the story.
I was drunk, and for the first time in my life, I got on
I was going to say the first time in your life you were drunk?
No, definitely not. Yeah, for the first time ever, I got on Tinder, which was something that I swore to myself I would never get into. And it's actually pretty hilarious because I think you were like the first person that I talked to. And obviously we're now here in person a year and a half over now, later.
Something like that. A little bit over, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny because I swore off that stuff forever and then just got on it to support a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And you lived in Utah and you were on vacation here and we ended up meeting on Tinder. That's just fucking hilarious.
Mm-hmm. And then
we had coffee and then lunch and then I invited you back over to my place for some fun. And fun was had. And then we just kept talking. And I remember you saying when we hung out in person and over text message later. It was interesting because after we had spent the night together, it was really early in the morning, 5:00. And I guess I had fallen asleep on you. And you were awake the whole time, which is funny to think about because I feel like I was asleep for a long time. You were probably just like laying there awake for hours, and I have no idea what you were doing.
Oh. I've always held burps back, and I feel like I can let them out now.
Yeah. I'm not
Keep
going
going.
to hold mine back. But yeah, it was funny because you had said that if I wanted to come see you in Utah, then I could. And yeah, I don't know, the sex and the conversation were so great that it was like not even a month later, and I just kept sticking 20s in my sock drawer to like save up for a ticket to come see you, and it piled up pretty quickly, and so I got the ticket. And I think I had texted you, and we were obviously texting for like a month or so at that point. And I was like, are these dates? Like, what are you doing? Are you busy on these dates or something? Could I come up? And you're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, good, because I booked the ticket.
I remember seeing that and being like, whoa, it's happening.
Yeah. I don't know, what's your perspective of that whole thing?
I remember it being really cool because I thought Credo was really cool, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Which is a coffee shop. It's kind of weird with these things because you kind of have to explain certain things that people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Credo was really cool.
Which is where we met up at the coffee shop for our first, I don't know, to make sure you weren't like a psychopath or something.
Public rendezvous. And yeah, I really like that. And then Dandelion, the cafe, are they completely vegan? I feel like I've asked this many times. Okay, Dandelion Cafe across the street, which was awesome. Also, you got to see me eat like a slob, which I normally do, which is why I normally don't eat with other people because there's food everywhere all the time.
That's okay.
And yeah, it was awesome. And then I was hanging out with Austin, my friend who I was visiting. And yeah, I was like, it would be cool to hang out again. But I think there was like some other stuff going on. Like I had to go to like a barbecue or something like that. No,
that's why we didn't meet up the day before. You just said that if you ended up falling asleep early, then maybe we could get back together.
Yeah, because I was there hanging out with him, and I didn't want to just ditch him. Yeah, but then he fell asleep because he's a dummy. And I think he was like working a bunch of hours or something, and he just passed out watching TV. And I was just like, well, I'm not just going to sit here. Which is funny because, I mean, there's I always bring it up when like certain things like that happen. Like when we picked up the Harley, we got the Harley from that spot. I thought it was funny because it was like, that was where you first picked me up. And then like less than a year later or something like that, a little over a year later, is when we're getting a Harley from there because Austin can't take care of a motorcycle apparently and just let it sit outside. So we took it and revived it. And it's actually funny. This is how I get it down these rabbit holes. That the photos and videos that I took when we first got it started, there's that oil, the little oil leak just spewing out of the side.
I'm standing there with my daughter, and she and myself were both super pumped to like hear this Harley start up, and we had no idea that there was just oil spilling out of the bottom. It was just this ginormous puddle. That was funny.
Yep, I put too much oil in it, so it was spewing everywhere, and I didn't notice it. So after we figured it out and kind of drained a little bit more of it, I went back and was like looking at the photos, and it was just the oil all over. But yeah, living and learn. Anyway, backing up to like Dandelion. Yeah.
Austin fell asleep. You came over to my place.
I just thought it was really cool. And it sucked when I had to leave because I was like, man, it was like if I was here, we'd just
that was the weirdest thing ever because you woke me up and you were like, hey, I have to go to the airport. And it's just like, shit, okay. And I just remember having to think in my mind, like, well, this was fun, and I don't think I'll ever see you again, which is weird, but there was an offer put out on the table that I kind of want to take advantage of now, and
I didn't think that was true.
What?
I didn't think that we would never see each other again.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I did not think that you coming to visit that soon
It happened
was
so
going to happen
quickly.
at all. Nor did I think that you were going to do it first. I gotten so used to like visiting other friends in other states that it was just like, I'll just come back at some point.
Mm-hmm. That would have been a long time. I feel like you wouldn't have made it back to Florida for a while. Or maybe that's not true. I don't know.
I don't
Depends
think
on
that's
the
true.
incentive put out there, but I definitely wanted to just keep thinking of like very dirty innuendos.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get to know your personality more.
Yep. So then you flew to Utah, and then you got to see the whole. You got the Grand Utah tour.
Yeah, what did we do that first time?
I feel like that we went to Zion.
Yeah, we went to Zion, which was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. I don't think
You were so casual about it, though. You're just like, yeah, this is cool.
I was trying to be casual about the hike that we took. Like, I'm gonna kick your ass all the way up this trail.
You're on your end. You were gonna kick my ass.
Yeah, and I did. You were like, stop, and I was like, I win.
You did win. You're in way better shape than I am. At least, yeah. I hate cardio.
The desert. I think the crazy part for me was seeing the desert because it made me feel like I feel at the beach, and I've been to plenty of places, mostly tropical places, because I love the beach so much, but I just haven't been able to just hang out so loosely in a place like I do when I'm at the beach. And the desert was just one of those spots. It was like, I want to just hike around and look at this weird planet. Just looks like Mars there.
It's so much slower too. Everything's
and
just
tall.
like sitting.
Like, I'm so used to just the flats. I mean, I've spent time in Maine as a kid and Utah and Colorado doing skiing stuff, but just, yeah, the desert was different. Way different. And then, I don't know, we had some weird Christmas jingle balls bar crawl with your friends, which was funny because, yeah, they were telling me all these things about you, and you're so casual when you start talking to someone. When you just kind of make everything seem like it's not a big deal. And then
so are you?
Your friends are like, don't tell him, but he was sleeping on a mattress on the floor before you said you were going to come here, and then he got a bed. Like, all this crazy stuff.
Yep. That is true.
It was funny. And yeah, then you took me out on some fancy date, which is hilarious because it's fun every once in a while, but neither of us are really like fancy date type of people.
That's why the last time I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to go to this steakhouse thing. I was just like,
yeah.
I'd rather just have wings.
We went to go get wings and beer instead.
And watch music. And then there wasn't music.
Yeah. Well,
whatever.
But yeah, we went out on that fancy date where you like lied about your identity to get into this place.
That's a stretch though. The full truth is that our friend Mac knew worked part-time at one of the sister restaurants, and so he got a percentage
they thought you
off.
were Mac.
Yeah, totally.
And you told them you were Mac.
But I didn't fully know that was the case going into it. He said that we could get discounts because we were his friends. He didn't tell me that he was going to tell them that I was him. So going into it, when they started calling me Mac immediately, I was just like, okay, that's how you got this discount. You just told them that I was you. So then, yeah, for the rest of the night, they were calling me Mac.
That was funny. But yeah, and then that was like the last night I was with you. But the whole week had been so cool because we went to Zion, then I forget what mountain we ended up going all the way to the top to.
Snowbird.
Yeah, okay.
But that's not the mountain, it's a ski resort. So we took the tram, but took the tram up to the top.
And also all this like very romantic but hilarious thing, because like you almost flipped your car over when you parked it in Zion. And then this last night we go out on this like super fancy date.
Oh, you forgot about the buffalo though.
Oh yeah, we car camped. The first, when I got off the plane, we went straight to the desert after I got off the plane. Right? Because we ended up pulling into Zion late at night, and we ended up sleeping there.
Maybe.
And that's when we woke up to the buffalo.
You could be right. You could be right.
Super. I don't know why I thought it was running water. Like, I thought I heard running water when I was waking up. And then you were just like, shut the fuck up. Once I realized that they were buffalo, I was like, they're buffalo. You're just like, shut up. They will fuck up my car.
Yeah, they're huge. And there's a lot of them. I'd never been around that many of them before.
There's
Usually it's like
many.
one or two just hanging out. That was a full herd of them just casually strutting by.
Yeah. No, that was cool. Then the date on our last night was hilarious because we had that, went back over to your friend's house, and then I could tell that you weren't feeling good because you were like saying no to food and drinks and whatever was going on, and you kept like saying that your stomach was hurting like really badly, and I was just thinking in my head like, oh, this guy just needs to like rip a massive fart or something.
I see you have a high pain threshold.
I do, yeah.
I have a decently high pain threshold.
Yeah. But
So when that happens, it's just like either I have a gnarly fart or something else is going on. And when it lasts for more than like an hour or two, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
This is not a gnarly fart.
Well, yeah.
Something else is going on.
So we went back home because you were feeling so shitty. And then you just, started barfing all over the place. And I felt so bad. I had this cool little like rest of the night planned, and you were just barfing and miserable.
Yeah. Well, it was so dumb too because I remember being so frustrated that I had so many people tell me that was like the restaurant to go to, and how nice it was and all this crap, and it was just like, ugh. Yeah, that was a bummer.
Not when you get food poisoning.
Like, nope, not doing that again.
Yeah. So I don't know. Then after that, I was hooked.
You were hooked?
I was hooked. So I had to come back for more, like for 2 weeks at a time for the next year, I would say, or so. And so, we did the long distance thing and started doing grandeur stuff together.
What was the long distance thing like? I feel like we talked about it a little bit, but I always think it's interesting hearing other people be like a lot closer, like in the same state, and not being able to make that work.
Right, and we were across the fucking country.
For me, that didn't feel weird. It was just like,
no,
this is what I want.
It sucked, but I wanted to be with you, and it wasn't. Maybe in the long distance thing with other people, there's a lot more insecurity involved because you can't see what the person's doing every day, or our friends, we were in completely different circles and whatever, so you're missing out on a decent chunk of things as far as,
but my whole thought process with it is like, if this means that much to me, which is the reason why I feel like you get into a long-term relation or a long-distance relationship in the first place, is like, if this means enough to me, I would much rather work through whatever's happening currently to stay together longer than get to a point where I'm going to step away from it because I feel like I'm not getting something I want from it. That piece doesn't make sense to me.
I think, insecurity doesn't always make sense, but it has its way with a lot of people.
Do you think those people, when they get out of relationships, are like, wow, I shouldn't have done that?
I don't know. You have to ask them. But yeah, for us, it was cool because you were doing your own thing and I was doing my own thing. I was working like 2 jobs and taking care of Leela, and then like making some weird punk band thing.
Yeah, what's that like? I always think about that whenever we're like,
it was random shit,
playing music or something
all the time. Like, I don't know. It was, I would was working as a birth assistant and a landscaper. Just like so weird. So I don't know. It was like wake up in the morning, and if you don't have a birth to go to, you're going to design lawns, and then at night, if you don't have a birth to go to, you're going to make music with some good old-fashioned punks, which was funny because I just didn't. I love the music, and there was a time where I was a hardcore / punky type of gal, but wasn't necessarily who I was a year ago when I was doing it. But I just wanted to make music, and I was like testing the waters out again. But we both just had a lot going on, so it was kind of easy for us to do the long distance thing because we were focused on what we were actually doing, not just kind of like wandering aimlessly and whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I mean, and the like, we've never been possessive with each other, so you know, if I didn't hear back from you or didn't get a call from you in one night or whatever, I wouldn't freak out on you for it, or get upset at you or anything like that. It was just like, you know, we're together, but there has to be this kind of understanding that things happen in general, but things like definitely happen when you're across the country from each other. That,
yeah,
you know. So it was cool because it was just kind of like getting closer in a different way than you can when you're face to face from the beginning. Yeah, I don't know.
Just had a thought about that. Yeah, because people had asked like how that was trying to do that, and the way that I always kind of worded it was like it allowed us to communicate more up front, which I feel like you don't normally get with someone when you kind of like first start hanging out.
Yes, I was gonna say the infatuation thing. Like, obviously we were super infatuated with each other, but it was a different kind of infatuation because we couldn't just like hang around and fuck all the time and Netflix and chill it out for the first year. We were infatuated with each other, but we couldn't see each other, so we would focus on what we were doing, like personally, which is something that I feel can be a disadvantage in the beginning of a relationship if you allow, you know, the infatuation with someone else to distract you from what you need to be doing in your personal life. Because I feel like that's really easy to happen. So, you know, it wasn't like all of a sudden we weren't abandoning our friends to spend every second together or...
Well, I really didn't hang out with very many people very often anyway, because that's just who I am, but...
You did more... I don't know. It seemed to me like whenever we would text or something, you would talk about going over to Max or... I
got roped into it a lot.
Kevin's, or... Yeah, but you still did it.
You're right. You're right. I was more casual about a lot of that stuff. Like, they all loved just getting after anything that they possibly could. And I feel like half of that time was me just saying yes to go do it just because I wanted to hang out.
Yeah.
And the other half was like, yeah, let's do this. So, yeah. I don't know.
I feel like I'm the same way. So if I have something to work on by myself, I am completely fine with just being alone for however long it takes to do what I want to do, or finish a project or something.
I get roped up in books, and then I get really pissed when someone wants me to go hang out, and I'm in the middle of a book.
Roped up in books for however long they can hold your attention, but then once you figure it out, you put it down.
Yeah. I think that's why I haven't started the latest one, because it's bigger, and I just know that the second I get into it more, I'm gonna get trapped until it's done.
There are worse things.
True. But then, yeah, what happened after that?
Yeah, I mean, we just kept doing that for about a year, and then you had like a couple times, I'd say probably around, I don't know, somewhere you dropped a bomb like before I hopped on a plane that was like, keep a lookout for jobs in Orlando, and I was just like, holy shit.
Or Florida.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy shit, that means this dude wants to move across the fucking country to be with me. That was crazy. That was nuts. Like, you wanted like uproot your whole life to come here. Especially, you know, when we first started talking, you were like, I don't think I could ever live in Florida, blah, blah, blah. And you had said that for a long time. So I pretty much, you know, thought in my head, which is crazy because I love you so much that I was legitimately thinking in my head, okay, well, I have Leela here. We can't just uproot and move to Utah eventually. But if we can make this thing last until Leela's 18, she's 4 right now. And here I am in my head thinking, if we can make this long distance relationship last for 14 fucking years, you know, then we can find somewhere to move that has the ocean and the mountains, maybe. Because to me, it felt like you were totally not a flatland beach type of dude. You seemed very into mountain biking and climbing, and obviously you were surrounded by all of that. But, you know, that at that time, that's who you were expressing yourself as. So, yeah, I just did not ever consider that a possibility. Then you dropped that bomb on me to keep an eye out for jobs, and my stomach just like sunk into my butt, and I was like, holy crap, this just got real.
Butt stomach.
Yeah, butt stomach. Hardcore butt stomach.
Good old butt stomach. Yeah, but I mean, I think, well, it was kind of strange because, like, I grew up in the Midwest, so I didn't have any of that mountain stuff. Like, a lot of, not all of the people around me, but there's, like, a good portion of people that grew up in or around some kind of mountains, whether that was the East Coast or the West Coast. So I didn't grow up with that. I just kind of found myself in it. And it was definitely, like, a little strange to get away from it. But I think what I like, the place that I had come to was like, it felt very much like a lot of the same thing, of like a lot of the same activities, doing it the same way, in the same spots. And like, it felt like it was all pushing toward trying to get more and more gnarly. Like, how crazy could you get doing whatever you were doing? And I just got to a point where I was like, I started doing this for fun. I'm not trying to put my life on the line every time I go out to do something, whether that's climbing or snowboarding or whatever. And like, I had fun pushing my boundaries, but it was starting to get to a point where I was like, I don't care to go beyond what this is. I remember, like, I think one of the first towers that I tried to climb being like, this is, like, having that thought of, this is where I draw the line. Like,
was that when you had texted me? You were like, I'm going out climbing with Zach and some of his buddies from...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I was like, it wasn't anything super crazy, but it was like, I don't know, I just felt like that was it. I just didn't need to push it anymore. But yeah, it was like, there was a couple little chimneys that we had climbed up where it was like the weather came in, and I'd like looked down this like 60-foot chimney, and it was like kind of starting to rain, and I was, you're just, the wind's howling around you, and you're like scrunched up on this tiny little ledge, and you can't hear the people around you. And like, the only thing that, I mean, you obviously like don't put yourself in that situation unless you know a good portion of what you're doing. So I didn't feel like completely not safe, but I definitely like had the thought, like, if something bad happens to a certain degree, there are going to be things that I don't understand how to do. And yeah, that was where I was just like, yep,
I love climbing. I would, if I did live somewhere away from the beach, I would be a disgusting dirt bag of a climber. Like nasty feet. Like nasty feet, because I don't like wearing shoes. It sounds awesome.
Neither do I. But yeah. So yeah, it was like a lot of the same stuff. Same with like the work that was going on there. It was just like getting into the same situation and having to deal with the same crap, just at different companies. And it was just like, this is all just repeating itself over and over and over again. And I just got to a point where I was like, yeah, there needs to be something else. I did, though. I always felt like the beach was like the next thing that I wanted.
Yeah.
Because I had gotten the Midwest, I got in the Northwest, I got the desert, but I thought it was going to be California. And I think I had a couple friends out there, and I had visited enough where I knew that I just didn't really care to be in California. So.
No. Well, so you chose the opposite.
Not that made Florida any, like...
more appealing?
Yeah.
Florida's fucking awesome, though. That's the thing is...
It is.
People think Disney, they think Orlando, Miami, or something like that. But I grew up in the backcountry of Florida, which is just the water of the Keys and the pine forests more inland. And I felt like you would like those things, but just because of how flat it is here. I mean, when I would go to Utah to visit you, it was just, you're surrounded by obvious majesty anywhere you look because there are mountains everywhere. When you come here,
super close too, like really accessible.
Yeah. When you come here, the beaches are very accessible. But you have to find your way with like the little spots that aren't, touristed out. And obviously it's flatter than fucking flat. So you're not seeing anything super insane. Unless you go to the Keys, which we did. And
Keys was awesome.
That was so cool to go with you.
It's weird. It's like the Keys is a weird distance away from us. It's like just enough where it feels like it's a little long, but not long enough where it feels like it's too far. So I'm always like, oh, it'd be cool to just take a weekend trip. But then I'm like, fuck, it's still like a day of driving. A full day when you consider there and back.
6 hours there and 6 hours back.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking 24 hours is a full day. Daylight.
Well, you won't drive at night, so.
You can do that, though. But yeah, so I did not, when you dropped that bomb on me to circle all the way back, I did not expect that at all. So that was cool. That was probably the happiest plane ride that I actually had back to Orlando.
Yeah, those sucked.
Those sucked so badly. I don't know why. Every time we would say goodbye, I'd walk away, I would start crying like a fucking sap, and then I would just, every time I would go up to the same vending machine in the airport and buy Twizzlers, and then I would sit my ass on the floor waiting for the plane to pull in and just cry and stuff my face with Twizzlers. And I don't know why it was Twizzlers. Yeah.
I was gonna say because the black Twizzlers, the black licorice ones are disgusting.
No. Regular, long Twizzlers.
Did you eat the whole bag?
Yes. Absolutely I did. I was like,
that's so gross. That's so much Twizzler taste.
Yeah, but I don't know. It became my ritual. Besides calling my mom to be like, oh my God, this is so hard, but I can't not do it because Nick is fucking perfect and whatever. But that was one of the cooler ride backs that I had, because then I came back and I went to Credo, and Credo is the coffee shop that if we do more podcasts you'll hear like mentioned a million times over, because I basically live there. But I went back to Credo and was talking to all of my friends there, and it's just like, holy shit, Nick said that, kind of inferred that he's gonna start looking for jobs here, and that's crazy. So that was cool.
What do everyone have to say about that?
They're just like, holy fuck, that's that's insane that someone's gonna move across the country to be with you. And I was like, oh, thanks, guys. And they're like, no, we don't mean it that way. So, okay. But yeah, that was really funny and also awesome. So then you ended up getting a job interview a couple months.
Yeah, that happened so fast.
Even a couple months after you had?
I don't know.
I don't think it was a couple months.
It happened so fast. I remember, like, so I had set job alerts just to see what was up because I assumed, like, it was going to take a while, one, to find anything that I was even interested in remotely, and two, that would, like, be the work that I wanted to do and that would pay me enough to even have it make sense. And yeah, that one popped up and I started looking into it more and then, like, flew out for an interview, which was funky. And yeah, and then it just worked out, which since then, layoffs. So, like, I think I said this the other day, like, what was it? 2 out of the 5 or 3? 2? I think it's like 2 out of the 5 people that interviewed me are not at the company anymore. So that was like that door inched open.
Yeah.
I squeezed through it and it shut.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. And so you're in Tampa now, which is 2 hours away from Orlando.
Depending on traffic. Because I-4 is...
I usually get here within an hour and a half or so. But
yeah, lucky you. It's always 2 hours at least for me, if not more.
Yeah.
Gas, brake, gas, brake, gas, brake.
Yeah, and I don't know, in the midst of all of that, I was writing more for Grandeur and then figuring out what to do about making our own hats, and doing all that long distance was a pain in the ass. Like, talking about that.
We talked about that the other day a little bit.
Yeah, I could not imagine doing all of this.
Possible. You couldn't have. There would have been no way.
Yeah. So it's crazy how it all just kind of fell into place. Like a year before you moved here to get to know you was great because I feel like we probably would have, I don't know, I feel like if you lived here or I'd lived there and we met on the same turf type of scenario, you know, we would have gotten swept up and moved in together more quickly than not, you know? But having that distance allowed us to keep developing together but separately for an entire year, which was really cool.
Was it like for you to like go through all the changes in what you were doing for work?
Kind of like a breath of fresh air, honestly, because I had
How long have you been doing the other stuff?
I've been birth assisting for basically since I had Leela. So I think at that
You were the one talking about how you needed a beer.
I'm on my second beer.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Never mind. I was like, you're sipping. I'm
on my second beer. You're on your first.
Yep, you're right. Take it back.
But yeah, so I think I've been doing that for, I don't know, maybe a year or so, like officially. I was able to start working for the birth center earlier than I should have been.
What about the landscaping stuff?
Landscaping stuff had been going on off and on for a long time because it was my family's business that they started in 1935. So that's just kind of a thing that's there. And so I was doing it because there are times where I really feel like doing manual labor and just like digging into the dirt and enjoy that. And that was one of those periods. So I just like kind of kicked it up a notch. But ultimately, did I want to be doing those two things forever? No, because being called at 4:00 in the morning to go help a woman deliver a baby, though it is the most insane thing I've ever seen and experienced myself, it's too much for me to handle as a career. If a friend of mine was having a baby, I would love to be a doula, be totally into the process with them and help them however they needed me.
Explain what a doula is, because I didn't know.
A doula is a birth assistant, but not, I guess you would say you go through different schooling. Mm-hmm. To be a doula is more, I don't want to say it's just emotional support, because it's not even close. I mean, these women who do it in the right way are so qualified to be nurses or, deliver babies on their own. And some do as doulas, but the birth assistant and the midwife goes through more of an official state accredited process.
Gotcha.
So that's what I had done, was the birth assistant. Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that forever, especially having a young child of my own. How do you call a babysitter at 4:00 in the morning to go deliver another baby? Yeah. So yeah, it was just, it's not the right time. I loved it so much, but it was the wrong timing for that. So then I started to crack down on the creative work, which was writing is kind of what I chose to tackle first. And that's when I started writing some posts for Grandeur and things like that. And got a job just with freelance stuff, which, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy everything that we're doing now. It's like anything else that I take on the outside of Grandeur or the opposition is just kind of, it's nice and it's money to pay bills and get by, but it's different to really feel your purpose come through, like some actual business work. Because I had always been super creative, but finding a way to direct it was, I just couldn't find the right hole to stick myself in.
Yeah. Well, the stuff now is interesting because it's like, it always felt like there were these pieces of what I was doing that were cool, but there was also all these pieces that I didn't enjoy. And it always seemed like there was something slightly off about it. And it's weird because now it all feels like it's there, but the like monetary support isn't necessarily there. Like, it's through the day job, it's enough to like keep the engine running, but other than that, it's kind of like how just doing the damn thing over and over and over until something clicks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of funky because it's like all the other things that I think I've been a part of, there's been enough money coming in from it to like keep it going, but then like other people involved I didn't see eye to eye with on certain things, and now it's just like we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Like tattoos.
Yeah, that's not work though, that's play. That was like complete play. Yeah,
but I see it as a part of it. All I see is whatever warehouse we have at some point.
So the plan in the future is to have a warehouse that we can inhabit, like literally live in, but also do all of our creative work and allow other people to do their creative work within too. There's just like this warehouse of sewing machines and knitting machines and computers and art all over the place, and music and tattoos and whatever. So I got Nick a tattoo gun for his birthday, and
now you have tattoos, and
now I have tattoos. Well, I've had tattoos before, but yes, now I want more and more and more tattoos. So
that was the backstory.
Yeah.
The whole backstory.
Kind of. I mean,
pieces. We
worked on that, but there's so much that, I mean, how can you talk about a year and a half of shit in however long we've been going at this point? Not enough time to squeeze every little detail in.
Nope. Not at all. And all the funny, goofy, like weird little things that happened too. Like,
yeah.
I don't, for some reason, I just remember breaking my sandal when we were out climbing that one day around St. George, which is like kind of close to Vegas. It's like a couple hours outside of Vegas, which is technically still Utah. But yeah, it was just hot as balls, and just like walking up this.
Your rainbow sandals, right? They were rainbows.
What?
That you got in Hawaii?
I think so. Yeah, I didn't think they were. I thought they were like Quicksilver or something like that. But anyway,
maybe they were Quicksilver.
They were like my nice sandals, like leather sandals, and it's just like, yep, tore it to pieces. So I had to walk on the hot ass asphalt back to the car.
I mean, I had offered to go get the car and bring it to you.
I wasn't just gonna stand there and roast.
You could have sat in the shade somewhere or something.
Nah. But anyway, that was one that I thought was funny.
Yeah.
The almost tipping the car thing when I tried to park.
Oh my god.
That one time.
Yeah, and then the food poisoning thing.
Food poisoning. What else? What else happened?
Your friends telling me that I was special was cool at the moment. That well, because you're like so nonchalant about everything. Like I couldn't. I don't know. It's like obviously I know that you're into me because you're talking to me, but.
I thought that was funny at the coffee shop the other day where Mike was talking about his girlfriend, and he was just like, "She cool."
And that's the moment that I was like, "This is how men talk about their significant others," where women are just like blah all over the place because it feels so good to talk about. But I don't. It doesn't feel like I don't. What does it feel like to you? To talk to a man or anybody about your significant other.
I don't know. You just don't really.
But I mean, why?
I don't know because it's not. It just guys just don't talk as much.
Yeah, but I don't. I don't know. What's the difference? Now I'm getting louder because
I don't know.
I just realized that I was right.
You're into it. Now she's into it.
I blame it on the beer. But I also think that is something, that difference between the two of us, because you have some men who are hyper masculine, and then you have some that are more feminine, and then you've got women that are more masculine versus feminine or whatever. But you and I are, even though I like a lot of like traditionally masculine hobbies, I am very like feminine in the way I approach things, which is kind of like chaos and go around until you get to the goal that you're wanting to reach, or like just kind of like throw your hand into a million different things at once, and then it all just like together, and then you are just like point A to point B equals point C, and that's what I want to do today, and that's what I'm gonna do. So like that's a cool dynamic for us to have, because I don't feel like I've had that in past relationships, and the fact that we combine that with business together is even more interesting to me, because it seems like the things that I am lacking in, you pick up the slack, and then things that you're lacking in, I pick up the slack, and it seems like equal across the board there.
Yeah. I've been trying to slow down more.
Yeah.
Does it feel like that's what I've been trying to do, or no? I feel like sometimes it feels like it's working a little bit, and other times it doesn't feel like it's working at all. You're like, no, absolutely not.
No. I think it does. And I've been trying to speed up. And I feel like, that stuff kind of like, they're things that we need to incorporate more of in our lives, but they're not, who we are at the core, or like what we most instinctually kind of operate out of. So it's hard for both of us to do the opposite, which is like yesterday when I was writing for the opposition, I was like, holy shit, I just got so much done. This is crazy. And I don't feel drained and whatever. But But yeah, it feels like you definitely tried to slow down more on the work front, because I remember you would come home, like, go straight from work to getting on the computer and doing whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm just like, a little bit of time on the computer, lots of time to like sit in the van or play guitar or draw or whatever. So it definitely feels like you've been slowing down, but not too much.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely haven't become lazy by any means. Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like I've tried to pick up the speed on things.
Definitely. And it'll be even cooler once you can kind of get the opposition site up and then keep iterating on that. What's also cool about doing this kind of thing is it's kind of like this weird, like, tangible thing. Like family photos don't really exist anymore. It's all on your phone. It's all this digital thing. It's either on like Instagram or some photo on your phone. And you used to be able to like go page back through all these like real photos and like see all these pieces of who you were and all this stuff. This format's kind of cool because like even in just a year you could go back and listen to this and be like, yep, remember that?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. So if we were doing this podcast again, or had been doing this podcast for like an entire year.
Oh, we will.
A year from now.
I've been doing it for 3 and it doesn't feel like that at all.
Do you ever look back on the old podcasts?
Not a lot, but every once in a while. Like the one that I kind of started it with, which was like one that I had done with a friend back in Milwaukee who had he's been doing his own for a while. It was called Midwest Reel. He actually started it because there was a guy called London Reel out of London who started his own because of the Joe Rogan one. So that guy started his. He put out this like kind of challenge for people to start theirs. So then this guy Michael started his, called it Midwest Reel, and then after doing it for a while he was like, well, it's not really, the name doesn't suit it. So then he kind of rebranded it to Third Eye Drops, which was like all these crazy kind of like dimensional, like the weird hippie psychedelic stuff involved with life, which was really cool. And I did one with him where I just kind of talked about like transitions and like starting over, and it was kind of like I remember recording that one, and it's hilarious. It's crazy to think about like how these things come back full circle. I did that one with him in a random ass conference room in a hotel outside the Salt Lake airport before I'd moved there. And it was because we were going on a tour to a bunch of the Zoomies that we had hats in, and we just happened to like go through there as we were going to roll back up through like Southern California and come back up to the Northwest. And so I was like doing that podcast at like...
Was that New Age Nomad, or was that on his?
It was on his, okay. But then I used that episode for the first episode of this because...
Were you guys in person?
No.
Or no? Okay.
Or the computer.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so if we were doing this a year later and looking back on this, or, I don't know, project yourself, where are we?
I have no fucking idea. Doing more cool shit that we like to do.
Motorcycles and t-shirts and tattoos and...
Definitely more tattoos.
And...
more shirts, more things.
T-shirts.
Yep. More things for the local community, more art.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your answer to that question?
Same. Although I'd imagine that you'll be living in Orlando within the next year, probably. Which is cool to think about, because then, like, because you're coming over in there with me, we're already dug in to a certain extent, and I'm lucky to know the people that I know over there. But us together, I don't know, it's cool because we're way better together. Oh, that sounds so fucking cheesy. Way better together than we are apart. But it's the truth, which is really cool. And so when we get over there, I feel like we'll really be able to like sink into a regular kind of schedule. Like now it's pretty sporadic because I'm in Orlando and then I'm here and then we're blah, 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 whatever, trying to make trips, different beaches and whatever we can fit in. But when you're there, it just feels like we will have an actual home base together. And there's just less movement to allow for a little more regularity, if that makes sense.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah. So I don't know. Definitely like in the market scene and making cool shirts for, which I feel like in the near future, we're going to start doing the cool shirts for people like Orlando City Kombucha and things like that. But it's cool to think about how regular that could be a year down the line. Because these things take time, you know, and everyone tries to make it happen so quickly. But you do just have to allow for time.
Time gets real weird. We talked about that a bunch.
Yeah.
I was explaining it the other day. It's like you have these periods where it feels like it's picking up, which you said you haven't really gotten into yet, but there's periods where it feels like it's just full steam ahead and you just can't. There's nothing that you can do to stop it. You just got to get in. And then there's other times where it's so slow and you're like slogging it out and you're just like, what am I doing? What the fuck's going on? You know, like, why isn't anything working? Blah, blah, blah.
Well, I get that. Like, and which is weird because I don't feel like I've been doing the grandeur stuff and the opposition stuff for long enough to be like nothing's working per se. But there's that insecurity there always that's like, you know, this, people haven't talked to me about this in a while, you know, or I have been slacking on making t-shirts or I've been slacking on finding the right suppliers for X, Y, and Z or whatever. It's easy to like beat yourself up because things aren't making a bunch of money for you. So yeah, I definitely feel that sometimes, but as far as like related to time, and time like moving fast or whatever, I don't experience that too much yet because I'm just very in the moment with all of this stuff every day. Like, you know, you work a major day job. It's not just like a part-time job that gets you by. It's a 9 to 5, 5 days a week, which would I don't know how you do that. That's insane. It's awesome. But I would be a very nasty person if I did that. And here, you know, it's frustrating in its own way because I have to learn all of these new things, or hone in on old skills, and take them to the next level. But I'm creating an intimate relationship with the things that I want to be doing forever.
Yeah. That's kind of, that's what I was trying to explain earlier with like it feels like all the things that we're doing are like the things that I actually want to do, but it's weird that the money thing isn't there yet. Yeah. Because I always wonder, there's kind of this debate within the more startup world where people kind of figure out that I've never understood that a portion of that world anyway, like where people just decide like, oh, I want to create a business, but they don't know what. That's always been weird to me. Like, how do you know that you want to create a business before you know what it is? Wouldn't you know that, oh, I fell in love with this and then I want to make it into something? But
I think they just want to be in charge. They know that they want to be in charge of their own project, maybe. So that's why they translate it to that.
Yeah. But then I guess my thought with that was, like, how do you get through the difficult times with that kind of thing if you don't enjoy it first? You know, like there's so many days where I'm just like, today sucked. And I've gotten more appreciative of the fact that that's like a roller coaster and you kind of just have days that suck and you have days that are the greatest. But like, I just don't know how I would deal with the sucky days if I didn't enjoy what I was doing. or wasn't as close to it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe there's people that don't feel that way.
I mean, I think everyone's different. But who doesn't want to work a job that they really care about?
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
What's it been like trying to learn all these different machines and stuff? Like, because they're all different in their own way, and they all have their weird quirks. That's the funny thing is, like, you think you get to know some piece of it, and then all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you think that one of these machines, any one of these machines, would be fixed, like in a certain place, so that whenever you set it to the exact same setting, it will work in the exact same way as it did before. And it doesn't. Like, and maybe it's because we're using older machines. I don't know.
The Juki's
not an older machine, but I'm afraid to get into it. Honestly, I'm so afraid of that machine because it sews at like 1,000,000 seconds a minute.
And it's metal, it's heavy,
yes,
and
oil.
it
will definitely, like, if I fuck up, that thing will take my finger off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's scary. So that in itself is just like, I mean, it's a sewing machine that you have to oil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is a machine. The knitting machine is just very quirky. Like,
they're like people. They're like their own people. They have on days and off days.
So strange. And then I have on days and off days. So,
depending
on what's going on, it's a mess. But it's like this, I don't know, delightfully chaotic thing that I don't know, the energy is there that I've always wanted. It's frustrating, but a good frustrating.
What's a good frustrating?
Kind of like you were just talking about before, where you have your good days and your bad days, but ultimately you're doing the things that you want to do, so it makes it all worth it.
It's an acceptance.
Yeah,
like,
and it's
fuck you, but I'm gonna come at you tomorrow, and this is gonna all start over again.
Yeah, and
I'm over this today, but I'm not letting it go.
Pay your dues to get to where you want to be. Yeah.
But then it's weird because it's not like you pay your dues and get to a point where you don't have to pay your dues.
There's always something else.
You keep paying your dues.
Always something else.
You keep going.
Like, I want to learn how to knit hats. Oh, but we can also make t-shirts. So now I'm going to make t-shirts. But then, let's make the cool, like, tacky, touristy looking shirts for fun. Or, the button downs. And then I got to figure out how to do that shit. And it's like, my grandparents or my grandmothers can do this shit. Or could do. One is still alive, one's not. But they could do all of this shit in their sleep. They worked in sewing factories.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, they taught me to sew. They taught me everything that I know now. It's...
That's what I think is so cool. It's cool to be able to try and bring some of that back. I think it's why I like that Netflix episode of that Southern chef so much, where he was bringing back the food.
The tradition, letting the tradition work its way through the generations. I think that's amazing, and I'm glad that Leela loves sitting on the sewing machine whenever I let her, or she thinks it's cool to knit little sleeping bags on the knitting machine. And
what are little sleeping bags? What do you? Like for her dolls?
Yeah, so instead of making the beanie where you like close it off and sew it, you just leave it. Like, I could knit a sleeping bag on that thing. It's weird. It's so...
Yeah. But then you think about the fact that, the majority of the clothing that they have now overseas is coming from someone that's sitting on that thing cranking.
Like a pro. And they're getting paid nothing there. Oh my God. That bewilders me because I cannot imagine a world. I do this. I'll work on the same machines as they do every day, and I will put my time in. But I'm not working for $1 an hour.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I mean, you have to factor in cost of living too. But there's so many weird intricacies. Like there's places that obviously will get paid better, so they have a better living situation because they're either making
those
enough.
places are slim though. Even in the US, there are still nasty ass sweatshops underground
well, that's
where
what I'm saying.
people are just getting fucking raped for their money.
It's like, all over.
There are a few places, but typically a garment worker is drastically underpaid, no matter what the cost of living is where they are. And those machines are so intense. Like I would love to sit down with a garment worker from anywhere that works on one of these machines day in and day out, so they could just show me everything that they know, because they would be able to break that machine down in ways that I just can't even fathom, because I'm going off of a fucking manual from the 80s or whatever YouTube video I can find that's got some sort of information I can use. Yeah, and it's like nothing. These people are actually on it every single day, creating like flawless garments. Of course, because of who they're working for, it's going to be garbage material 9 times out of 10. But their technique is perfect. And they know how to work those machines like the back of their hand. Yeah, quickly, efficiently, amazingly. It's mind-blowing to me. But how do we even get on that?
Talking about what it was like for you getting into all those machines, different machines, day in and day out.
Really, it just kind of puts into perspective the other parts of the world that you don't see. Most people don't pay attention to who is making the shirt that's on their back. But I'm now making shirts to go onto people's backs. And because I am making them, I'm looking into other people who are making them. And the majority is just being bent over a barrel, and it is pretty depressing. And that's the weird thing is, whenever you get into like a specific movement, there's always seems to be so much shit hanging around, like the food scene. You can get very down about like animal abuse and just the marketing tactics involved in making things look like what they're not. It's the exact same thing for the apparel industry. So finding out all of these things, and I feel like I've been doing that my entire life. I'm not a vegan now, but I was a vegan by the time I was 13, because I started getting into researching what was really going on behind marketing, which that shit pissed me off so much. And then I started looking at the fact that marketing is everywhere. If you're selling something, there's going to be marketing. And more often than not, marketing is misleading.
Yeah, I've had a difficult time with that, because that's like being a graphic designer, I'm usually under some sort of marketing arm.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that is like that is because the marketing side of the business is so disconnected from product. Like they're two totally different things. They work completely separate from each other. And it's always just been so weird to me that that's the case, because the marketing is telling a story about the product, and the product is telling a story about the brand that's developed by marketing. And so it's this like back and forth thing, but it's not a back and forth thing when they're doing their work. It's these siloed individual things. And I think they get, as companies get bigger, those things get so much bigger, and they become so separated that there's no way for them to work together on anything. And so it turns into this like, it's so strange. It's like you can't tell the truth about what you're actually making, because you don't know what you're making. You're not a part of that process. You don't have access to it anymore. And it's like, that's what's always frustrated me about being in more of the marketing side of a business, is like, you're telling me to tell this creative story, whether that's through like some sort of video or campaign or ads or whatever, a million different kind of touch points. But how am I supposed to tell that story when you're not even going to give me access to the things that we're actually making? And then a lot of times what you find out when you start digging, because I think a lot of designers, like, they have that artistic mindset of like, I want to understand this, is like most places, the reason that you're not able to see it is because it's bullshit to begin with. Like, it's just the same product made to look slightly different, and then the story's changed. And it's going to be interesting to see how that evolves over time as more people kind of pick up on the fact that that's how things are. And I always feel really lucky that I've been able to be a part of the marketing side of things for so long, because I can see I gained that understanding of being able to see through that way earlier than I think a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. Like, you either get there by your intuition, which you have because you have a killer intuition compared to most people, which is like you got to hit your head against a wall a million times before you're like, oh, this is crap. Yeah, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah. And that kind of like we were talking the other day, I think you had asked me how I just end up kind of like emotionally coping with the fact that I know, or we know, or where people are starting to know that what's being presented to us in almost every facet of our lives is not exactly what we're being given or purchasing or even producing. A lot of like the handmade people around town have their hearts in the right places, but because they don't know the difference between organic cotton versus regular cotton on the environment, they see a lower price tag, and that's what they go for because they're small business people and they want to save money too, obviously. I think I was just starting to talk about how you were talking to me the other day about that, because it's easy to get kind of like bummed out about, and just making sure that you're taking every step that you can in the right way, and questioning yourself and seeing if you can do things in a better way, and doing your research is like the only way that you can really cope with it. Because if you learn all of this stuff and then you realize that you're just constantly feeding into the bullshit, it's easy to get down about that stuff and then get down on yourself because you don't know how to deal with making better decisions. So yeah, I mean,
I just don't like the when you can clearly tell that someone's disconnected from what they're saying they are, or what they say their values are, and what they're actually living in terms of those values. Like, I think the way that I put it one time is like, I like the real hippies, not the fake hippies. Like, I don't like going to a local market and seeing someone be like, oh yeah, we make all this by hand, blah 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 blah, and it's like, you didn't need to say that to me, but now that you did, I'm going to go look at everything you have, and I'm going to tell you that's not the fucking case.
Yeah, your blank is made in China.
Yeah, don't lie about it.
You might have made the design in USA, but that doesn't mean you made the entire thing in the USA.
But you don't have to lie about it, because the thing is like, when you get into more of like the sustainability side of things, you very, very quickly come to the understanding that there's just trade-offs everywhere. Like, if you have to try and understand or go through the work of, what do I want to prioritize and how am I going to try and make that work? Because you're not ever going to get all the things that you want. And that's the thing that's frustrated me so much about the word sustainability, and why I try to not use it, is like, there's no such thing. It doesn't exist right now. Even bigger companies can't do that. And people are making moves toward it, but like, it's still the case where the marketing arms of the companies are so disconnected from the product that the stories are even being told in a really funky way, where you're just like, that doesn't really seem like that's true.
They make one step towards a more sustainable product, but then they market it as, our entire product is better for the environment or eco-friendly, or whatever you want to attached to it, when that's not the case. And it's cool to think about the companies, which honestly I can't think of any off of the top of my head. You probably can, but if there was a company out there that talked about what they were trying to do, versus and like touting what the actual steps they were taking were to like make more sustainable products, I would have so much more respect for a company that would say like, we make t-shirts. Right now we're making them out of organic cotton, which is cool, but we're also still using polyester thread, and we're trying to figure out our way around that next.
Yeah.
That's understandable. Those are the steps that need to happen in order to make the long-lasting changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you have like other brands that are using, you know, recycled polyester or something, which has its ups and downs, but they only market the ups. You know,
yeah, that's a great way to put it.
When there are plenty of downs to recycled polyester.
But it keeps getting deeper though, because you're like, there's no real way. There is only a few people right now trying to put tools together to be able to more succinctly and understandably compare those things across what a company is doing. Like, so if you were to take different kinds of materials and try and put them all together, and now you're saying this one comes from this part of the world and this one comes from here, and this is how they get here, one's a ship, one's a plane, like how do you take into account all those things? You can't. There's no way to possibly do it. So like even if you did want to try and explain the downsides of it, you're still in this weird gray area of not fully understanding everything involved. But then it also gets into the weird portion, which is, I think, what's made me even more mad, is like everyone's still using the same avenues of advertising to try and sell those same things, which is like, that to me defeats the whole purpose of it in the first place. If you're going to go, if you're saying like, we want to make a better product and all this stuff, then why are you going to try and do all these things to keep people on a social platform or viewing ads or, you know, like spending money for new things over and over and over again, when that's like that's the real root cause of what's going on. That's like the underlying thing under all of it. So if you're not trying at least to take a stab at that, then it all feels like it's just this fake thing. Like you can say, oh, I'm trying to make this sustainable product, but unless you're trying to get at the real thing underneath that, then all you're doing is the same thing anyone else is doing. You're just putting makeup on a pig.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard, you know, it's hard though, because unless you get into the local market scene, or get into a storefront somewhere, and have eyes regularly exposed to your product, you rely on social media. And if you want to take your business to the next level, you rely on social media, which, you know, you can use Instagram over Facebook, but they're run by the same person, you know, or whatever. So, yeah, it all sucks, but I don't think it's necessarily time to come off of all of that yet. Time to introduce yourself into the local scene for sure, but to the point where you can afford to take yourself off of social media, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that will ever be the case.
Yeah,
I'm talking about like
definitely be the case.
Them.
I mean, if we had our own website and knew enough people around town to get steady orders, and that's the thing too, is not trying to make your company the biggest it can possibly be.
That's
just
a huge part of it.
Making enough money to make a living in the way that you want and pay, you know, your labor workers fair wage and whatever. But I think that's totally doable on the local scene, or without Instagram or Facebook. You just have to really go old school with it and network your fucking ass off.
But I think that's definitely where things are now, because so many people jumped on I'm going to put Facebook ads up, I'm going to put Instagram ads up, I'm going to do it this way. And it became such a fad that it seems like, and because of the way the internet is now, where like the second someone starts figuring out something that works, they go and try and like sell that to someone else, and then they do it. And now all of a sudden, whoa, everyone comes in. Now that's the way that everyone's doing it. And where they came from is now the more lucrative way, because everyone's over here doing the same
Right.
shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like social media, I think of as like a ginormous Costco line. So, like, you just have people funneling through the entire fucking store like a herd of cows, and then just like squishing into this fucking line for as long as it takes to make shit happen.
Weird. Yeah. Costco coffee. No, not Costco. IKEA.
Ew.
IKEA coffee. I don't know why I was thinking of IKEA when you said that. Costco actually has some pretty decent business practices.
Yeah, I know they have like some good products that are cheaper and reasonable. But I can't go into Costco. It freaks me out.
Yeah, business stuff.
Business stuff.
Business. That was the whole point of this podcast, was to get into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it just seamlessly transitioned into there.
Seamlessly.
Were you thinking about the camera at all?
Yeah. There were a couple times where I felt myself like getting into
getting too excited.
I was like, oh, am I speaking too loud now? Is this going to sound weird? Am I making really funny faces? Or I'm trying not to crack my knuckles?
You always make funny faces.
Yeah, I know. Or whatever.
Do you have to really physically try to not crack your knuckles?
Yeah.
It's that much of a habit?
Yeah, I've been doing it since the second grade. I asked my mom in her Camaro. She had this gold Camaro with black T-top. And I remember we were in the car, and I saw her crack her knuckles. And I remember thinking, whoa, my mom cracks her knuckles. She drives this really fucking cool manual car.
I want to be a Camaro driver.
I want to be like my mom. I want to have a cool car later on in life.
So is Leela going to do the same
whatever.
thing?
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. She's asked me how to do it before, but I've told her It's not good for you. But my mom just showed me immediately. She was just like, oh yeah, pop, 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 pop. And I was just like,
you want to be cool? This is how you
you know, I mean, I remember her as this awesome rock and roll, always chewing gum, popping her knuckles, driving a manual car. Like, she was
the gum
just
thing's funny to me.
A badass. Like, she just, especially to a young child, she's looked like a badass that was breaking the rules all the time. And I remember the knuckle cracking
just like you.
thing.
Like mother, like daughter.
Shut up. So yeah, I asked her how to do it. She showed me, and I just can't stop. Can't stop addicted to the shindig. That's Red Hot Chili Peppers reference.
I caught it.
Okay.
Cool. I think that was enough for the first attempt at this.
Yeah.
I think we did the damn thing.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say?
Mm-mm.
Talk about the opposition a little bit. You're gonna put it up soon. What is it? What are you trying to do?
It's a
talk about it.
Clash.
Talk to them.
I don't know. It's a clash of moto culture and surf culture and badass women who are just taking control of their existence and doing things the way they want. And I think the site will be live. What's
soon.
Today?
Don't say a date. Just say soon.
No, I mean, I was going to say within like the next week or two for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because our goal was to have it live before Leela goes out of town for the 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
Or somewhere in there. So I don't know, around July, early July, which is really cool.
So if you're into cool women doing cool things.
Yeah, cool women doing cool things. And cool dudes. Dudes are babes too.
Let's see. What's the site? Where can people go?
theopposition.co. And
sign up for the emails.
The Instagram is the opposition and co. Emails would definitely be the coolest thing, so I can connect with people more one-on-one, because definitely try to stay off of the social media shit as much as possible.
Yeah, you didn't believe me about the DMs being the worst place that you could ever live your existence.
They,
yours, I guess, are better. Yours are better.
People have been really cool on there. I only had one dude put up a weird comment today because I was kind of alluding to you, and I was like, I just want to go make out under a palm tree.
Oh.
And this dude was like, let's do it. And I was like, oh, No, that's all right. Thanks, though.
Wasn't talking to you.
I just didn't respond. But yeah, everyone else has been cool. They just want to talk about bikes and surfing and what I'm doing, which is pretty badass.
Means you found the right ones.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Maybe we'll find a few more off this.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that's it.
That's it for now.
Mhm.
We'll be back with more.
Okay.
Hopefully we can do, when I say regular, I mean like maybe once every couple weeks or something like that. Because I don't want to, like,
Yeah.
this is kind of a side thing. I don't want it to be, I want it to be fun. I don't want to try and force things, which is kind of what it was getting to with like trying to schedule all these other people. But yeah, I think it's cool because we can keep talking about what we're doing in between potentially having other people and
yeah, I was gonna
keep
say
it rolling.
What other people are doing too.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
Orlando community is pretty popping right now.
It'd be cool to get more of those people on too. Like you were saying, do this, but have a third person or something somehow. I've always wanted to do more in-person things, but it's just it's the same thing. It's so difficult. Like take the trying to schedule with a person and now add like trying to schedule with a person in a specific location. Yeah, so.
Well, I know lots of cool ladies, so, you know.
Let's find them.
You know them.
Let's find them. Let's find more. Cool. Anything else?
No.
GTFN. Ta-ta for now.